Thank you for joining Reviving Humanity. I am your host, Denise J. Smith. And today I have created a presentation that's going to outline for you the problems with Black on Black hate. Yes, I am talking about the Black American versus the Black African. Okay, we really have to address this. This really needs to be discussed because we seem to be confused on who created the problem within our community. A lot of us seem to be confused and we are blaming each other. But I am here to address the problem, provide a solution, and in my presentation that I have created, in the end, I have an assignment for you. Because with this assignment, it's going to help you see what I see. It's going to help you examine your life deeper, examine the relationships in your life, and really think about the roles we as Black people play in keeping white supremacy alive. You know, we say that it's white people, right? We think if only white people would end racism, then everything would be okay. But we don't realize that we already have that power to end it ourselves. It's us that's going to end this. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into the presentation. So just like Africa is still dealing with the effects of apartheid, we as Black people in America are still dealing with the effects of slavery. Yes, I know that most of you may have already known this, but there is a lot of us who still are unaware of this information. The heartbreaking part of our ongoing colonization is that we fully don't understand all of the ways in which we are still colonized. That's why I'm here, to help further educate our community on the roles we play knowingly and unknowingly with assisting white supremacy and its greatest con ever invented. I'm here to help us examine deeply how our views of Africa and even of one another are influenced through a colonized lens. In this video, I will explain the ways in which our minds continue to be controlled through an ongoing system of colonization. And by the end of this video, I hope that you will be willing to challenge your mind, your thoughts, leading you to true liberation individually and a desire to unite collectively. We've believed for far too long that a government, which once put into law chattel slavery, would have our best interest at heart in the future, that it never had to earn our trust as a people. Now, I want to stop right there for a minute. What I am saying here is that when you think about, let me just bring up Cinco de Mayo. Okay, I've already talked about this in some of my previous videos. It's stated that America honors Hispanic and Latino peoples by taking on Cinco de Mayo. Okay, obviously a lot of us know that it is also part of the capitalism. You know, all these holidays make money, but it's what they say that they honor the Hispanic people. How have you seen in America, knowing the history of slavery, how have you been shown that honor by this government, by this United States government? How have they put that honor when it comes to Black people in this country? As I said, you know, we get that tiny display, right? When it's not Black History Month, but when it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, you know, MLK Day just recently passed. We get that tiny display, okay, if we even get that at all. And then with Juneteenth, it's the same thing. So how has this country shown honor to us? This is what I am saying when I say that our ancestors came out of slavery because believing, you know, that they could trust a government that just, you know, moments before had into law chattel slavery. People are starting to discuss that we have never had the therapy needed coming out of slavery. There has never been a therapy. There has never been a conversation. It was just, well, now let's get to work. Now let's do we had the sharecropping. So What I am trying to point out to you here is that we put our trust in a government that did not have to earn our trust. We should have made this government earn our trust. As I will say here, we continue to give away our trust, which leaves us vulnerable to a government we continue to depend on for our freedom. I encourage the fight of unity so that we can finally build our own system of governments, which will place us as a people independent and free from the hold of racism, white supremacy. But first, we must be willing to see our connection to the motherland, and then understand the psychological ways our mental colonization keeps white supremacy alive, not just in America, but globally. So I want to talk about that for a minute. A lot of us think that the system of slavery, the chattel slavery, that it was only, or maybe some of us even believe that racism or white supremacy only applies to America, but we don't see how this is global. This is a global system that affects us no matter where we are. And this is what we need to start understanding. Start thinking in that unity. No matter where you travel to, white supremacy exists. Moving on. Colonization has placed a large number of the Black population into a state of denial by cognitive dissonance of our true heritage. This is the denial of our association to one another globally. Colonization created a system of racial hierarchy appeal, which we still live by today. Example. We don't have to learn how to love the Puerto Rican, Dominican, American Indian, Asian, the white European mixed in our DNA. We don't have to learn to love that. What is it that we have to learn how to love? We still have to learn how to love being Black. And then on top of that, we have to love our African heritage. And I know some people, as I said in one of my previous videos, I am meeting people where they are at. So I understand that Africa, the continent, had many different names in its time. I also understand that the name Africa was given by the Europeans who colonized Africa. I gave it that name. I understand this. But what I am saying is it does not change the people. Okay, so not only do we have to learn to love the Blackness in us, we have to learn to love our true heritage with that Blackness. And that is a problem that we need to address. Why is that still something we have to learn how to love? But we don't have to learn how to love any of the others. That's part of that racial hierarchy appeal that I am trying to help you understand. We must begin to ponder who created the system of race. Remember, it was never the melanated African who started this war, or vice versa. It was never us in America either as Black people who started this Black on Black hate. As long as we continue to spread Black hate through the beliefs of a racial hierarchy system, failing to place blame where it truly belongs, we give white supremacy the power to continue to exist. I've said this before and I will say it over and over again. It isn't those who identify as white who will end racism. Instead, it's going to be us that's going to end it. The rightful master teachers of our planet. It's us. We give racism, white supremacy power because we continue to give the system someone to oppress. We must stop giving them someone to oppress. And a great example of this is when you are in a relationship. Let's take it out of the macro. The macro is the entire collective. Let's bring it to the micro, which is you, the individual. You are in an abusive relationship. I've mentioned this on my podcast, Reviving Humanity. You are in an abusive relationship and until you leave, until you mentally have the strength to leave that relationship, that person still has the power to abuse you because they're not going anywhere. You may threaten to leave, but as long as you continue to stay, They have no reason to change their behavior. They don't need to change their behavior as long as you continue to stay in that relationship. It isn't until you get out that that person no longer has that hold over you, that they can no longer abuse you. Taking it back to the macro, the collective. As long as we continue to stay in this relationship and do not demand what we are owed, what gives the system? What are we doing to challenge the system, to make them change in their ways? How do I say this? Let me say this in a better way. As long as we stay in this system of racism, white supremacy, as long as we continue to give the system, as I said, someone to oppress, there's no need for the system to change because it's benefiting them. They have not learned anything. They're not learning anything. As I said, we are the master teachers. They are not learning from their past. So I just want us to think about that. Just like, continuing on with the slide, just like we've never demanded this government earn our labor, we've never demanded that they even earn our labor or allegiance after 1865. We've never demanded after the Emancipation Proclamation that they earn our labor. You've gotten it for free for all of those hundreds of years. And you still needed us, but we never demanded that they earn us, that they earn our allegiance. Instead, we willingly gave our allegiance away to the flag and then abandoned each other in the process because we're not allegiant to each other. That is what I mean when I talk about allegiance. We continuously give away our trust to a system which benefits from our global amnesia. They continue to benefit from it. So how are we mentally colonized? You might wonder. Let's begin with our identity. As Black people in America, it's crucial now more than ever that our heritage comes before our nationality. We can never understand how much we are owed as a people. You talk about reparations. We will never understand how much we are truly owed globally without understanding the transatlantic slave trade and its effects across Europe, South America, as well as parts of Africa and the Caribbean. We have to understand that the transatlantic slave trade did not just stop in the United States. We have to understand how that has affected us throughout the system, which continues to benefit from the transatlantic slave trade. They're benefiting from it in Europe. They're benefiting from it in the Congo, parts of Africa, the whole continent. They're benefiting from it by taking resources. When you think about your iPhone, and I hate that I learned this so late. I feel like I learned this too late in life, in my 30s. I should have known about this. But, the iPhone, we have to understand what it takes, who it took to build that iPhone, so that we can have basically a whole computer system in our hands. We will not be protective over the intellect, spirituality, individuality of our ancestors if we don't know what to protect. Colonization has taught us to be shameful of the continent we now call Africa. When we place ourselves as superior by nationality, we take on the mindset of our oppressors who have placed themselves as superior due to an invisible racial hierarchy they've created. We proudly accept Jesus Christ as Black, but then deny the people of Africa as one of us. Cognitive dissonance. We must begin to analyze our thought processes in order to challenge growth outside of white supremacy. White supremacy understands our global seniority. We have seniority by our ancestors to this planet, but have not fought to take back what has been gifted to us globally. Instead, we are told where we can and cannot walk, live, sleep, and work. Thus, we've submitted by keeping our heads on a swivel. What do I mean by that? How many of us have said, you better keep your head on a swivel. Don't you dare go to that part of town. Don't you dare go to that part of, don't you dare go to that part of Mississippi. Don't go to that part of Texas. You better keep your head on a swivel. I don't want to see us be submissive to a system of ignorance, is what I'm saying. Let's stop being submissive to it and finally unite, come together, so that we don't have to be submissive to it. Our unity through our heritage will not only destroy the system of race, it will strengthen our minds, our union, ensuring that we never fall victim to colonization again. We serve a relationship which knowingly benefits from our amnesia and divide. Moving on to spirituality. While we make comments such as, that's white people food, music, clothes, I don't eat, listen to, or wear that, where it truly matters, our religious beliefs, the sciences, and even our educational systems, we pray, study, and learn through the lenses of white supremacy. Our minds continue to be programmed through generations to further us away from our true heritage. The Mormon Latter-day Saints Church of Jesus Christ is a great example. Did you know that the LDS was founded in 1830? Christianity in Ethiopia dates back to the 4th century AD, making them one of the world's first to adopt Christianity. The Orisha religion, which has its roots tied to the Yoruba culture of West Africa, with origins dating back thousands of years, represents one of the most ancient evidence of African spirituality. Characterized by complex pantheons of deities, respect to ancestors, and a strong emphasis on the interconnectedness of all living things. Yet, as I was saying, it's modern day religion, specifically the LDS Church founded in Utah, which we've allowed through missionaries, even in our own community, the Black community, to influence white supremacy by erasing the true essence of the African person, the African Negro individual. In 2023, the LDS Church opened 5 new missionaries in Africa, bringing the total number to 45 and counting. This is a serious problem. What's happening here, which is what has been happening since the beginning, is that we've allowed white supremacy to tell us that we are superior in what we know about religion, God, the universe. So the way that we study, the way that we practice, that should be influenced, especially on the people of Africa. I was watching a show. It was called Love After Lockup. You may have seen it. There was a woman there named Andrea. I believe her name was Andrea. She had a family. She had 3 children. Okay. They were Mormon. Black woman, Black family. They were Mormon in Utah. Okay. And she sent, now I don't know if they went through with this, but she said she was sending her family on a trip to Africa, to Ghana, because they have family in Ghana, to spread, the Mormon, the LDS beliefs, to the people of Ghana. But we don't see the problem in that, We don't see the problem in the fact that we are taking a religion that was created by white supremacy. You have to understand the history. You must understand the history behind the LDS. But we are saying that that is superior. And African people continue to be influenced by white supremacy. As I said, we will say things like, I don't eat that. That's white people food. I don't eat that mess. Get that away from me. You got them white people clothes on. You got them white shoes on. You listen to that white music. But we are influenced, our religion, our spirit, not spirituality, but our religion our educational system. That's white supremacy. How do we not see that that is what is shaping us here? Okay, taking us away from our true heritage. This is what I really need us to see, right? Even had this woman, she's from Africa. This is where I got the example from. She told me, she said, yeah, that's white people food. I don't eat that. That's not African food. But she's Mormon. She's Mormon. She's from Africa. She's from Congo. She speaks French. But she's Mormon. And she's living in Utah. I want us to see how, although the culture of food and music is influential, it's a great part of us finding, connecting to our history. But where our minds are colonized through our religious beliefs, through our educational system, we spend 18 years, or not 18 years, I'm sorry. Well, some of us, if we go to graduate school and beyond, but we spend so many years in a white influenced educational system. We are not learning, which I will get to on the next slide. I would like you to question this. Who decided that there was a problem with the intellect, the spirituality, individuality of the Negro person pre-colonization? Then I want you to question who benefits from suppressing our intellect globally, believing that it's modern day education and religion that must shape the reality of the people who've dominated the sciences for hundreds of thousands of years is what makes us fall victim repeatedly to racism, white supremacy. This is what I was just talking about. Okay. When we believe, our ancestors, first, as I said, you have to see your connection to the motherland in order to fight for it, in order to fight for your heritage. If you do not see the connection, you can't fight for it. You don't know what to fight for. You don't know how much you are owed, how much the system is keeping us oppressed. You don't know that when you are falling for that system of racism, white supremacy. As I said, I didn't say this to you, but I did not even know what racism, white supremacy was in high school. I have never heard that phrase, ever. Not even in college. I've heard racism, but I have never heard racism, white supremacy. Never heard white supremacy. I knew about the KKK. Right? They originated from Indiana. Okay. I'm from the Midwest. You got Indiana, Kentucky, right? The KKK, that's where they're at. Okay. Eating McDonald's, ordering their biscuits and gravy. Okay. Planning their attacks for the day, right? That's the KKK. But what I'm trying to help us see is that it's a problem when we aren't learning, when we are suppressing the voices of the African people who have been here, who have that connection, have been here for hundreds of thousands of years through their cultures, through their ethnic groups, have been here. It's a real problem. The English language is only 1,400 years old. 1,400 years old. It's been documented that all 6,000 modern day languages are derived from an ancient language spoken in Africa. Isn't that something? Yet we in America are taught that English is superior. When we accept as Black people that slavery was a benefit fed in our educational systems today, we give power to white supremacy, thus keeping it alive. We keep it alive, as I said, the idea that African people were not intelligent enough to build boats, to build ships, to transport themselves after Pangea from the continent of Africa to the Americas. Even when Pangea existed, Pangea is the idea that when all the continents were connected, just the idea that African people weren't intelligent enough to walk, from continent to continent, if that's a thing, because Pangea basically is just one big continent. But the idea that African people were just sitting in one spot, for hundreds of thousands of years, just sitting in one spot. We feed the narrative that the African person was not intelligent. When we sit there, we stay quiet. And, I can't say I don't have any children, but you send your children to a school that is teaching that slavery was a benefit. That is a problem. That is what I mean by we are keeping white supremacy alive instead of fighting and saying, no, that this is not the truth. We must be willing to see the significance in the roles we play in keeping white supremacy alive, even by our silence, by not saying anything. As I said again, I'll say it again. The English language is only 1,400 years old. It's documented that all 6,000 modern day languages are derived from an ancient language spoken in Africa. Why are we not learning the language of Swahili? It's also documented that Swahili is the language most spoken in Africa. It's the most popular language spoken in Africa. Why are we not learning Swahili? And there's so many languages that we could be learning. When we as Black people refuse to research our heritage beyond 1619, beyond the first hit of colonization, we are robbers of our own intellect. With so much hidden knowledge of our planet, our universe within language, the education of our own identity remains stunted as we choose the chaos of this modern world over peace and tranquility rooted deep in our heritage. By denying Africa and its intellect in society, we cater to a false racial hierarchy system designed to keep us all suppressed. By keeping the Negro person globally, specifically in America, unaware of our true roots, those who created a system of race, specifically white, continue to benefit from the greatest con ever invented. The white race was created by rich Virginians in 1676 out of rebellion of impoverished, indentured, including enslaved Africans and Europeans known today as Bacon's Rebellion. The Virginians legislated a new class of people into existence, white, giving white people certain rights while robbing Black people of human rights. White as a language of race appears in Virginia around the 1680s and first appears in Virginia law in 1691. Thus, whiteness and to a degree Blackness was born in the mind of America. Still unknown to the greater public of where fair-skinned Europeans truly evolved, though theories have suggested evolution from Negroid peoples out of Africa or the famous Caucasus Mountain story, the need to create race, placing those who scientifically and historically fall last in seniority to this planet, keeps us all blindly serving a white con, a con which still has the Negro person globally believing in inferiority to white by choosing who we trust when it comes to religion, science, education, down to our outer appearance, features, and language. We've allowed those who were once students of African master teachers to become rulers over the influence of how we view ourselves and operate in society today. So what do I mean by this? What I'm talking about is our influence. Understanding that when it comes to religion, we know how powerful religion shapes a person's identity. Because you're following, the Bible says, wait until marriage, though how many of us are waiting until marriage? But you develop your morals and values based upon what you are told as a child. And when you are being given, like I said, we'll go back to the LDS, okay? Going back to the example of the woman who was Mormon, her family was Mormon. She said that the LDS, that is part of her history, and she meant that it's her history. The LDS was founded by white people in Utah. But this black woman at the time, I'm not sure where her beliefs are now, but this is the part, that how deeply we have been influenced when it comes to, as I said, the sciences, the religion, the education. This all really shapes us. The languages that we choose, if we choose to learn any other languages. How many of us are saying that we want to learn languages of Africa? A lot of us say we want to learn Spanish, because it's popular. The Hispanic people, the population is growing here in America. So we say we want to learn Spanish, or we say we want to learn Mandarin, or we say we want to learn French. I'm talking about making us really think about, why are we suppressing the African? We have to be conscious of this. And this goes into part of the assignment. I have 4 assignments here. I want you to challenge your thoughts. Challenge, when we talk about challenging your thoughts. When I say challenge your thoughts, I'm talking about challenge the thoughts that you have of yourself, the thoughts that you have of the diaspora, the entire black diaspora. That's what I'm going to call it. Okay. Challenge those thoughts. Like when you look at me, you see my hair like this. Are you automatically thinking, man, she would be pretty if she would straighten her hair out, comb it, do something with it. You know what I mean? If that is your thought, why am I only pretty if I Europeanize myself? I've already done that. My hair was down my back. I cut my hair off purposely. And it still took me a while, because even with it completely shaved, I was not comfortable without a hair out of place. It had to be smooth. I wanted those waves. Why? Who said that in order for you to be beautiful, your hair must be in place? It must be tamed. In order for you to be beautiful, your nose must be pointed and not round. Challenging the thoughts that we have of the African people, the people of Africa. Why is it that when we say we're going to travel, we don't say that we want to travel to Africa? A lot of us have never been to the continent and don't have any plans on ever going to the continent. But we've been to France. We've been to, all the places, and not all of them, but a lot of places in Europe. It's really challenging the system of racism, white supremacy that exists within. Challenging that. Challenging when you see a person, a black person, how you maybe initially may your thought, what may initially pop into your head. Like we all have these biases, okay? Different biases. It's challenging those biases. That's what we really have to do. And then I want you to challenge your reflection. As I said, why must you only be beautiful if your nose is pointed and not round? I don't want you to leave that mirror until you love yourself, your natural self. If you have to apply the makeup, if you have to lighten your complexion, if you have to cover your face a little bit with the hair in order to feel beautiful before you leave the mirror, I need you to stay in that mirror a little bit longer. Before you put on that makeup, love yourself, challenge the thoughts, your reflection, love your reflection staring back at you, because it is the system that has told you you are not beautiful as you are. And even if you are already there, we can still challenge our reflection, challenge, as I said, the thoughts that goes in with it too. But it's really getting rid of that system of racism, white supremacy. It's expelling that from you. Okay, completely getting rid of that. But it's a process. It takes time. Moving into challenging your relationships. This is deep. This is something that I had to do 1.5 years ago. I was someone wanted to be my friend, but they were caught in the system of racism, white supremacy. And I could see this. They were Cambodian, from Cambodia. And they said, I don't date anyone Cambodian. I don't like I don't like my people. I only like white, blonde and white. That is it. But they wanted to be my friend. And then they wanted to put down black people and say, yeah, the lips is too big and all that. I don't like. I'm like, why would you want to be friends with someone like that? And a lot of us, even if it's not that direct, we are friends with people who don't want to learn our culture. The black culture here in America, who aren't interested in the films. But we will go and we will, like, let's say you have a relationship with someone that's Hispanic, and you will go, you will invest, you will watch the movies made in Mexico, you do what you can to invest into that person, but they're not doing that for you. It may not be these specific examples, but if you think about it, I'm sure these relationships that you have, you will be able to see something. You will be able to find something, and you must challenge that relationship. Why are you still with this relationship if it is keeping you suppressed? You may not realize that it is, but these relationships that participate in this false racial hierarchy system, they keep us from mentally breaking free. And our mental as Black people is so important. We need to surround ourselves with people who are strong within who they are, who are not going to put us down, right? And then we just brush it off. We really have to challenge these relationships and why we are in these relationships and why we don't demand more from these relationships, and why we don't, why they don't have to earn our commitment, earn our allegiance. Because are they really allegiant to us? Are they really fighting for our liberation? Do they really want us to liberate? Or are they afraid that if we liberate, that they will fall at the bottom of this false racial hierarchy system? See, some of these people in your life, they need you to stay at the bottom, but they're not going to tell you that. But if you examine and challenge these relationships, you will see it. You will see it. Finally, I want you to check the manipulation. When I started doing this, I made a video about how when I said racism, white supremacy, it's not just in America, it's global. I made a video explaining how white people no longer really have to do the work. You have all these different groups, as I said, everyone who is above you on this false racial hierarchy system, they participate in the system. In this in the system of racism, white supremacy, they participate in that. And I made a video about, even going to the grocery store. I had a woman who was, I'm going to guess, she seemed like she was Hawaiian, but just very, very prejudiced, just a horrible, horrible attitude. I'm a pleasant person. Okay, I'm just coming here to check out. I'm not trying to have any confrontation. But you know what they do? They say, hi, how are you, to the white person in front of you. Hi, you had a good day? Oh, I'm glad. Oh, that's great. Oh, so wonderful. And then you come, they have a whole attitude, the demeanor completely changes. They don't greet you. They don't thank you. They don't have a nice day to you. None of that. And I said, well, you know what? You have a great day too. And so what I'm saying is, the system of racism, white supremacy, it's not just white people doing this. And when I addressed the racism, I'm then called racist. I'm now racist for calling out racism. And someone who's not strong in who they are, they will fall for that. They will say, well, I don't want to be perceived as racist. I'm going to back down. I don't want to start any trouble. When you want to have the conversation about racism in this country with your coworkers, your friends who are white, and they say this conversation is just too hard for us to have, it's too difficult. Well, who is it difficult for? We are the ones that need to have this conversation, whether we want to admit it or not. So that is what I mean, checking the manipulation that keeps us from rising, that keeps us from checking racism, from calling it out. And this video is just the start. There's so much work that we need to do if we want to build our own governments that's going to protect us, where we no longer have to deal with racism, white supremacy, systemic racism working for these companies. We continue to work for these companies, make them billions and trillions of dollars every year, while they have racism embedded in their companies. But before we can fight, before we can build, we have to be strong here. And that's what I'm here to help us see. I hope that this video was helpful for you, that you were able to stay through the end of it. And I really do appreciate your support. Those of you who have subscribed to my channel, you really give me hope that we can overcome, that we can finally separate ourselves from a system of racism, white supremacy. I believe that we can, and we will.